Hi, I am Adra Saji. Today I am presenting a video on data ethics. We all hear about data. The data is used for many purposes. Data is growing day by day in each second also. We can collect meaningful insight from the data. When we collect the data, we are collecting the data from different sources, and these data are mined and collecting meaningful insight from this data. And this insight can be useful for business and many other fields. Data science provides huge opportunities to improve private and public life. Unfortunately, such opportunities are also coupled to significant ethical challenges. Anytime you start collecting the data, you must consider the ethical practices behind it. We must collect the data ethically. In this video, we are discussing about data ethics. The main content that is discussing in this presentation are data, what is data ethics, data ethics principles. These are the main contents that we are going to discussing. Data. Data is considered as the new oil. While data is similar to oil, it is much more complex than oil as a resource because it is created and not destroyed and keep adding more values as more of it become available. Unlike oil, collecting data come with issues of privacy and ethics that must be carefully considered. Anytime we start talking about, even thinking about data, we should also think about data ethics. Data is simply a piece of information. Data could be facts or statistics. Data can be in a variety of forms. For example, data could be an image or a physical sample. When we are collecting a data, we must consider the ethical practices behind it. We should collect the data ethically. What is data ethics? According to National Center for Biotechnology Information, data ethics can be defined as the branch of ethics that studies, evaluates moral problems related to data. That evaluates data practices. The different data practices are collecting, generating, analyzing, and disseminating data, both structured and unstructured, that have the potential to adversely impact people and society. When we are collecting data, generating data, analyzing data, we should do that ethically. We should collect the data ethically, generate the data ethically, analyze and disseminate data ethically. We don't misuse the data. We should use the data legally. We all know that there are millions of data available. These data are from this data we can get profit. That must be in ethically. In addition, data ethics consider how and in what way sensitive data shared, maintained, analyzed. Sensitive data is personally identifiable information such as human sample, survey result, DNA, etc. When we are using sensitive data, this is a private data. When we are using this data, we must ask the consent for using the data. So we can directly use the data. No. Why we need to consider ethics in data? Yes, we must consider ethics in data because data is created every day and this data is become increasingly more and more detailed. How we interact with the data is extremely important. We also need to mindful about where all this data is coming from. Yes, we are having many data from different sources. We also mindful about the data is coming from which places and what data we are collecting. Anytime you are start collecting data or giving your data, you should consider the ethical practices behind it. For example, as a student, an easy example for when you should consider data ethics could be when you fill out a survey form. When you are filling a survey form, the survey form asking for personal information. Also, the survey form asking a consent before you are filling the form. This is an ethical collection of data because before filling the form asking you to give a consent. Data ethics principles. Data ethics is concerned with the following principles: ownership, transaction transparency, consent, privacy, openness. These are the principles of data ethics. Ownership. Individuals own their own data. According to European law, the Generic Data Protection Regulation indicate that individuals own their own personal data. Personal data refers to data sets describing a person's ranging from physical attribute to their preferences and behavior. For example, GPS location, written communication, list of contact, internet browsing habit, financial transaction, tax payment, laptop and mobile phone camera recording, etc. These are personal information of a person or an individual. So, ownership means individuals own their own data. The next is transaction transparency. If an individual personal data is used, they should have transparent access to the algorithms designed used to generate aggregate data sets. In regard to personal data, individual has the right to know why the data is being collected, how it is going to be used, how long it will be stored, how it can be amended by the individual concerned. So this is transaction transparency. Example of ethical use of data transaction include, for example, the research. Personal data for research purposes belong to individual must be licensed from the user under the terms of a personal consent from which fulfills all the transparency principle outlines above. If a research is taking personal information, the researcher must ask the consent before taking the data. Says next, the consent. The next we are going to discuss about consent. If an individual or legal entity would like to use personal data, one need to be informed and explicitly expressed consent of what person data moves to whom, when, and for what purpose from the owner of the data. So, the subject of the data or the subject of the information has the right to know how their data has been used. Before taking their data, we must ask the consent for taking the data. The next is privacy. If the transaction occur, all reasonable efforts need to be made to preserve privacy. Next is openness. Aggregate data set should be freely available. In this, the data is freely available, open. This is open source data. In here, the copyright rules are coming in openness. So these are the different data ethics principles. At last, we have come to a conclusion. So what is data mining? Data mining is the process of extracting and discovering patterns in large data sets involving methods at the intersection of machine learning, statistics, and database systems. In data mining, we are collecting data from different sources and we are mining the data and extracting meaningful information from this data. And this data is very useful in business and many other fields. While dealing with the data, we must consider the ethics of collecting the data. For mining, we are collecting the data. We must collect the data ethically. Finally, what is data ethics? We are throughout this video we are discussed about what is data ethics. The data ethics is a set of principles and processes that guide ethical collection, processing, analysis, use and application of data. So these are our conclusions. For making this video, I refer many websites. These are the reference for the websites. Thank you for watching and listening this video.